From the shadowy depths of the city, where justice and mystery intertwine, emerges a broadcast as daring and vigilant as the masked Avenger himself. You are tuned in to the Green Hornet Case Files, unveiling the legacy and cultural significance of one of the greatest crime fighters of all time. Now, let the adventure begin. Here are your hosts, Kory and Greg.
So, we've been doing our ongoing episodes of becoming the Green Hornet, right?
Right.
So, in my current state, I realized there's a topic we should probably touch on at some point.
Okay.
Injuries.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 22 of the Green Hornet Case Files. I'm Greg.
And I'm Kory.
And Kory is on the injured disabled list, I guess, today. So what happened, man?
So I was at work, and I was in the process of moving a copier, and I was going up the stairs with what it's called a stair climber. It's really just a dolly with a motor on it, and we got it all the way up to the top, and it kind of slipped and pulled, and I caught it, and I felt something twinge, but it wasn't horrible. And we got it all the way to the top, and we started to turn it, and all the weight went on me to hold it while it was being turned, and something just went out. So so I went to the doctor, and apparently my back is sprained.
Sprained your back?
Which I didn't even know was a thing.
Well, hey, welcome to a thing.
So, yeah, it's pretty gross, and I hate it. It hurts really bad, but we're here. We're ready to rock and roll.
We are. And for those of you that are regular listeners, we do apologize for being a little late on this. We actually had some technical difficulties that they had nothing to do with Kory's sprained back. The podcast booth that we normally record this in was having some equipment issues. And so we're trying something brand new here that we think is going to work well for us. And we'll put out a plea here in just a little bit, kind of see what happens with this. So if you have any comments, questions, be sure and send it along. Podcast at greenhornet66.com. And if you like what we're doing here, if you'd love to drop a few pennies in our jar, we'd appreciate that. Coffee, ko-fi.com/Green Hornet Case Files.
Yes, that is, we appreciate it so very much. We are, just for the sake of transparency, trying something new with my injury. We're trying to record in separate locations, which we've never done before.
No, we've always gotten together and recorded in the same room at the same time. So at this point, I can't see Kory, he can't see me.
Which is a benefit for Greg.
And I'm sure for you most times too. So depends on what I had for supper that night.
Well, yeah, we're both guilty of that.
We have a fun episode coming up. We have a guest going to be joining us here in just a little bit. I think a lot of folks maybe that are into the Green Hornet may recognize, and we'll have some conversation with him coming up here in just a little bit. We've had a few nice comments from some folks here, Kory. There is a really long one that I wound up sending you the other day. I mean, this is like 2 pages from...
It was so well written, too. I really, really appreciated it.
Yeah. Daniel Dickholz, I think is... I hope I said the name right. Used to work for Starlog magazine and sister publication Comics Scene back a day or two ago. And...
which both phenomenal magazines in their prime. Love
God, I used to read Starlog all the time. I had stacks of, Starlog was right next to Famous Monsters in my book.
Oh yeah.
So, I'd save my lawnmower money and go down and pick up, copies of those. And, Daniel, just thank you so much for this really long, lovely letter that you've shared with us. Chris Dingsdale, 7400, said, nice show, guys. Not just John's amazing collection. We've heard so much about John's collection.
Yeah. Which for absolutely earned.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But Chris says, nice show. Not just John's collection, but the whole collecting mindset. Said it's interesting. He's been there with his son. He said now he's an adult. And what do you do with the stuff? If you're like Kory, you just stack more in the corner.
It's Rubbermaid tubs. not to brand name anything, but that's where it goes.
Big tubs. And he also sent us another note in regards to the last episode that we had about the Dreamcast, and he says, intriguing. Whatever you think of the 2011 movie, it does give a new movie the platform to be different, which it does. Casting, he says he's fine with Chris Pine, but he threw out the name Anson Mount,
which is huge to me. At this point, it's a little bit. He probably aged out.
Yeah,
but in his prime, like. Absolutely. Hell on Wheels era Anson Mount would have been perfect.
Yeah. Really, really, truly was. And he says definitely Louis Tan to play Kato.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And then I come across a couple of other names. One I came across as I was watching a new TV show on, I don't know whether it was on Prime or where it was, called Wild Cards. And I'll butcher the name. I will. It's like Giacomo Gianniati.
And I'm sure that's not right.
And it's probably not right, but Giacomo, he's a great fit. I think he's got the great look.
You sent me a picture, and he is exactly the Van Williams type. He would work really, really, really well. But you also sent me another one last night that I liked even better.
I did, and this came via the 66 Batman / Green Hornet forum that somebody else threw in there, and you like this one, don't you? I
love it. It is. So Anson Mount, when it first was brought up, I was like, oh my God, that's the one, because I have a big old man crush on Anson Mount. I think he's wonderful. Like I love everything he does. Star Trek Strange New Worlds is by far the best Star Trek that's been put out in 20 years. I love it. I love him. I think he's great. But this got sent to, when you sent this to me last night, I was like, nope, that's the one.
That's the one.
That's it.
Are you ready? Go ahead.
Scott Eastwood.
Yeah. Clint Eastwood's little boy.
Not so little anymore.
Not so little.
But he's done some genre stuff. He's been in a lot of good stuff. I'm pretty sure he's in Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was.
So he's done some genre stuff, which, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, it is a not a superhero, but it is a hero thing. It's not your basic fare. So it's not outside of his wheelhouse. I think he could do it. I think he'd be amazing. And man, does he strikes a figure.
He does. He has that handsome that his dad had, but even a little more robust. His dad always tended to be, at least in his early years, on the skinny side. In the days of Rawhide and those shows, he was always kind of the skinny cowboy. But he's got that kind of beefy look to him that he wouldn't take any crap.
Oh, dude, he'd be phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then you put him with why am I drawing a blank? We just during the episode, dude from Warriors.
Oh yeah. Name just went through my head.
I don't know why I can't think of it off the top of my head, but you put the two of those guys together.
That might be lightning.
Throw a Black Beauty in there, we're ready to rock and roll.
I think so. Hey, before I forget, this last weekend I was at Portland's Fan Expo. Not just this last weekend, but the weekend just prior to that. I was at Portland's Fan Expo and did a panel discussion on the Green Hornet. And I got to tell you, I was very chuffed about the whole thing. That we didn't have an awful lot of people. The whole con was not well attended. They stuck me at 5:30 on a Friday afternoon, so I didn't have a huge crowd. But everybody that was there was so into it, and lots of questions and lots of conversation. I just absolutely loved the idea that these people were totally engaged in the Hornet, and that made me feel really, really good.
From what you were telling, and you put some pictures up on your socials, it looked, I know there wasn't, a huge amount of people, but more people than none, for sure.
Yeah. Even the one guy that showed up. Okay, there were two guys. It was a nice little crowd, and I do appreciate that very, very much. I believe I'm doing the presentation again in June at Lilac City up in Spokane. So if anybody is in the Pacific Northwest and you're planning on it, be sure and come out. Thanks to the Green Archer for his donation to the Green Hornet Case Files for his coffee.com donation, ko-fi.com donation.
Again, we're not sure if it's coffee or Ko-fi.
I don't know. I'm going to go with coffee. Buy me a coffee. I know that there is another service that says buy me a coffee, so I don't want to say that. But
yeah.
One other thing that's come up before we get into our guest here, and I wanted to give these guys a quick shout out. There's a brand new Kickstarter campaign. I don't know if you know about this or not, Kory. Kickstarter campaign for the Green Hornet Epic Anthology through Moonstone Books.
Ooh, no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Timothy Zahn and Kevin J. Anderson are kind of leading this thing up with short stories. And it says here in their press release, follow the exploits of the Green Hornet and Kato in this anthology featuring top writers in sci-fi and fantasy. So get over to Kickstarter.com/project/Green Hornet, or just type in Green Hornet, and I'm sure you'll get there. We'll put a link in the show notes as well. Yeah. Get out there and support those guys. I know when I checked last night, they were over halfway, and I threw them some love too. So there you go.
So I met Timothy Zahn last summer at SummerCon in Puyallup. Yeah. And he's been, one of my favorite authors forever. I'm a Star Wars nerd, and he is, as far as the Star Wars extended universe goes, the guy. As far as I'm concerned. Obviously R.A. Salvatore did a lot too, but Timothy Zahn gave us Grand Admiral Thrawn, who is one of the best villains in Star Wars. So it's him getting a hold of the Green Hornet is going to be stellar. It's going to be so good.
I'm excited about it. I can't wait. I can't wait. So be sure and check out the Kickstarter and support those guys. We want to keep the Hornet alive. Yeah.
You know what else I'm excited about?
I could guess.
Our guest tonight.
I think we should bring him on, don't you?
I think it's a good plan.
After all the crap we've been talking about, I don't know. We might just as well talk crap with Scott Sebring. Hey, welcome to the show, mister.
Hey, guys. Great to be here.
He's great to be here. Almost sounds like a radio guy, doesn't it?
He's one of us.
I could have always come in and damn glad to meet you. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
I'm glad to meet you. That's right. Scott is the owner. If I say any of this stuff wrong, he'll correct me. The owner of the 1966 Batman message board / Green Hornet Forum. Is that correct?
That's about as close as it gets. Yes. Sole proprietor.
All right.
And
all right.
Yeah.
We had your other counterpart on the show here a while back, Mr. Ben Bentley.
Good guy, Ben.
Yeah, good guy, Ben, who you guys, share a lot of things, including music. Don't want to talk about that coming up here in a little bit. But you told me sometime, 6 months ago when we first connected about the history of the Batman Forum. You didn't start it, did you?
No, it was founded in the 90s, like 96 or 97 or so, by a guy named David Sutton. But by the time I even joined the board, which was in 2004, he was already gone. He was already not really part of the picture. And it wasn't even a proper site, like a title on a domain that says, the Batman 66 message board. It was a backdoor link to a thing called workshirts.com.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of like a background project of some other website that had been.
That is OG internet right there.
Yeah,
there you go.
that's exactly what it was. And the guy who was moderating it and had been moderating it for a while, a guy known as G Dog, uh, he
Greg.
he, he just he was felt a bit overwhelmed over the years because, like I said, David hadn't been around for a while, and back then it was really the old west on the forum. A lot of dysfunctionality, a lot of bullying and things, and anyway, he liked how I was pretty diplomatic in my posts and seemed to genuinely care. And another fellow, Lee Kirkham, was another member of the site at that time. And G-Dog says, not one person can really moderate this thing. You're going to need two. So he asked myself and Lee if we would go ahead and moderate the site. And this is near the end of 2005. And like I said, the two of us were moderating. And by the end of 2005, going to 2006, the site completely melts down,
Wow.
completely crashes. Glenn can't bring anything up. David cannot resurrect it from the ashes. Everything that had been built up since 1997 on that board was gone. And we didn't have social media to like, hey, make an announcement over on Facebook and say, hey guys, we're going to go relocate somewhere. So from the meager community that we had in word of mouth, I decided to invest on our own domain and build it from scratch rather than joining another forum outlet, because you could join different forum outlets out there and set up groups, but if somebody else had the keys to the property or whatever, you had to follow their rules. And if somebody put in a complaint, they could kick you out. So yeah, I bought the turf, I bought the domain, and set up the software. Lee was involved in the first 6 months or so of helping with some of the design of it, but then real life stuff happened for Lee, and he really wasn't around. And I had him on the title as like a moderator for, gosh, a good 6 years or so, but he really wasn't around. So fast forward to 2009, I meet this wonderful guy, Ben Bentley, enthusiastic, young enough not to be completely jaded. And
Well, he is a lot of things. I don't know if jaded's the right.
no, well, that's what I'm saying, and young blood. You just need somebody who could just, be willing to try to. But he's always been such a polite fellow. I don't know if it's the English thing or not. But anyway, like I said, after I got to know Ben a good bit in real life as opposed to just on the message board, yeah, I asked him if he moderate for me. And so, yeah, the two of us have been doing that since. Like I said, he does the onboard stuff as far as keeping the peace and fielding calls and all that kind of stuff. I still own the domain. I still own the site. I'm the only guy in the back who actually still has to deal with the databases and all the technical stuff back there. I haven't been with that yet.
But Ben, it's coming, buddy. It's coming.
It's coming sooner than you think. But it's going to be in 2026. It's going to be 20 years since launching, 66batman.com.
Yeah. What's your love and first memory of, and of course, obviously, we're the Green Hornet podcast, but we know,
course.
they're inextricably linked.
Yeah, at this point, there's a story there. What's your first impressions and remembrances of Batman and bringing you into this crazy world?
when Batman aired, I was almost 2 years old. But I actually do have vivid memories of seeing the show as a child. But they're more impressions. I didn't even understand words at that time.
Mm-hmm.
The one I always keep remembering is because I didn't understand words, I used to think that Commissioner Gordon was always upset with Batman and Robin.
Just because the way he talked all the time.
Yeah, because it's like this. You shouldn't have dropped the oatmeal, or whatever. But just to show you how age works, but as I just got a little older as the show went on, I realized, oh no, he really likes them. Yeah, they're okay. And I definitely remember when Batgirl came around. I definitely remember that as a kid.
Who doesn't remember when Yvonne came on the scene in her pink
purple
motorcycle? Oh, it's purple. I'm sorry. My color must have been off on my TV. That's all I can figure. Yeah.
But as a kid, like I said, a kid of not even 3 years old or whatever, that was one better. That's one more. That's even better. And I do remember seeing the Green Hornet. I don't think I saw the crossover as a kid, or I don't remember the crossover at that young age. That I do remember when it started being syndicated in the 70s. But I do remember seeing the Green Hornet on TV. Had no connection in my head, like, oh, Batman or something like that. And one of my older brothers, Joel, really liked Kato. So we'd watch the show and we'd go running outside to go fight like Kato.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
kick
what
each
you
other's
did.
head in, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I also was just intrigued by the Green Hornet's mask because it didn't have a rubber band to hold it on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was like, whoa, those are like sunglasses things. Yeah. Those things that people put on their glasses, and it's like I said, as a very, very young kid, that stuck with me. Didn't have any toys of the Green Hornet. Did manage to get a coloring book, one of the old Whitman coloring books, but I think it was one that my friend had, and I saw it was the Green Hornet, and I asked him if I could have it.
Look at you.
Yeah. And then Green Hornet vanished, faded. Not my memory of him, but just completely
just gone. Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
And I can easily tell you it was not syndicated in my neck of the woods of Florida or anything like that. When I finally saw the crossover on Batman in the syndication, I was like, oh, it's Green Hornet and Kato. It was great. But I still had no concept that was like, the same production company or any of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I was
as kids, you wouldn't have any idea.
No. And I didn't know the details. I didn't know the car was called the Black Beauty. I didn't know, I know he had that thing that was like an antenna that he shot things with, but I didn't know what it was called. Oh, I would take old TV antennas that would telescope like that and run around and be Green Hornet as a kid. Absolutely.
That's phenomenal.
But I remember trying to dress up as the Green Hornet in the 80s for a Halloween party. Nobody knew who the hell I was.
No.
I couldn't blame the costume that much, but even people my own age did not remember the Green Hornet.
Wow.
People my own age did not know the Green Hornet. And I didn't get much exposure I didn't even realize Bruce Lee was in the Green Hornet as a kid, obviously, until I was reading a Kung Fu magazine, like in 74 or 75 when it was all the vogue. And this was after Bruce had died. And there was an article about him and so forth. And I go, this Bruce Lee guy, he's great. He's really cool. Yeah, Bruce Lee. And then I turned the page and there's a picture of him as Kato. Well, his stock went right up.
Yep. It did. It did.
And that was the first time I saw anything of any indication of Green Hornet, for me like that. And I don't think it was until the Now Comics put out that series. That I got some kind of contact with the Green Hornet in a modern any kind of context. In any kind of media.
When did you add the Green Hornet side to the forum?
There in the early days, and the funny thing is when Ben did your podcast. He said that it was there when he joined, and it wasn't.
You mean Ben lied to us?
No, he was
kind of
mistaken.
relationship
He'll tell me I'm wrong, but I remember the move. Because there wasn't a Green Hornet subsection. There was a lack of subsections on the original forum. We didn't have an off-topic area. Just a lot of stuff. And so there was people who got really militant if you mentioned anything that wasn't the 66 Batman.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
some people wanted to talk about Green Hornet, but then you get those people coming in, no, this is the 66 Batman forum, and the Green Hornet, just please.
Yeah.
And
They're done that.
And I wanted a spot where, the Green Hornet has a special bit of love. If we're going to talk about him, people want to talk about it. I mean, there's only 5 of us, but if we want to talk about him, we'll put it over there. And so that's where the sub-site really came about.
Nice. Scott Sebring is joining us, who runs the Batman 66 message board, Green Hornet forum, and I started to get to know you, I think, through the forum as I grew into my my hornetiness.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say that?
Can I say hornetiness?
Yeah, you can say that.
Oh,
That's not what you said the first time.
I'm not going to buzz
I
you
did.
on it. No, this is okay.
Yes. Is that a word? I don't know. We'll look it up later.
Scott listens. This is awesome.
So, Scott, first off, thanks for having the message board up there. It's been a wonderful chance to connect with some great people over not only Batman, but especially about the Green Hornet. But you have a lot of things in your resume. You're a writer, you're a musician, performer, engineer, producer. You've done a lot of hits and misses and things like all of us do. You sing, you play, keyboards, guitar, bass. You and I, in the same bottom line. I think Kory's pretty much in the same. You play keyboards at all, Kory?
Not keyboards. I play guitar.
Play guitar, play guitar, bass. So you just, Mr. Scott, released a brand new, and did we say album anymore? Did we still say album?
I completely say
records.
albums. I think in albums. I write in albums. Albums exist.
As they should.
exist.
Yes. New project called Prequel.
Yeah, new album about old ideas. Yeah.
I like it.
No,
I like it.
Yeah, no,
It's the perfect title.
yeah, no, it's actually it's autobiographical. Gonna try to say this fairly quick, but the album before was a thing called Blue Skies and Open Road, and it's really started about the life I've had since leaving where I came from nearly 40 years ago and coming out to California, taking a chance because of a phone call I got that someone, wanted me to join a band and could only promise me, well, look, you got a couch you can stay on until you find your feet. And everything that's happened to me since taking that chance, traveling 2,500 miles, I wouldn't be talking to you guys. I wouldn't have met my wife. It just, the life I have is because of taking that phone call. So that was that album. And after releasing that album, somebody asked me, well, why don't you ever talk about where you came from? And I said, the only time I ever talked about where I came from is I got the hell out. And they said, well, there's probably a story there somewhere. And they were right. There's an entire album. So Prequel. And it really just goes from being born by the river. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Florida. And it's kind of various events in my life before I leave. And it just goes from being a kid, the blissful youth, getting your first bicycle and feeling like you ride to Born to Be Wild to it because that's your mean machine.
Yeah.
Going to school, and for me that sucked. And
Most of us.
And so just wrote about different experiences, and eventually that I got to get out of here. I can't sit still where I'm at in this place anymore. And so, that was the general run of the album. And the very last song, though, is a song called "The Long Goodbye." And not to bring down the mood in here or anything like that, but my father passed away about a year ago with Alzheimer's, which the long goodbye, anybody who's had someone who suffered from that knows that term very well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And so if the album was all about memories, I felt that, this song about my dad were everything that you remembered. If memories make up who you are, then who are you now? Once those things are gone. And all you could do is just be there by their side and just hope they're not suffering. And so that's how the album ends. And it's a bit more melancholy. Sorry, folks. But I owed it to my dad to at least tell that part of the story.
Oh, that's great. It's great to be able to do that. My mom as well died from Alzheimer's. And
my grandmother.
Yeah. So I think we all have that same story somewhere in our lives, that it's nice that you put pen to paper and voice to electrons or whatever it is.
Well, Pete Townsend said, nothing like a divorce that gets you to write a damn good album. If you're all happy and everything's all good and you're not in debt, then what the hell you got to sing about, right?
Exactly.
But
so
anyway,
what is next for Batman Message Board, Green Hornet Forum?
that's a good question. And I asked that one, Ben, a lot. Because,
We don't know.
No, in the regards that it's one of those things that's there. It's been there. It continues to be there. It's something I'm very proud that I told you about the early days of what it used to be like. As you know, Greg, we've got a lot of rules. We're a pretty strict forum compared to a lot of the World Wide Web. And I try to make it to where if a 5-year-old kid wants to find out more about the Green Hornet or Batman, he could go to this site, and it's a good community. It's a solid community. It's a safe community. And that's what I really want to have there. So we're pretty strict in a lot of that stuff. And what's happened through the years is that people who can be jerks don't stick around. I very rarely have ever had to ban somebody. They just don't stick around because they're not going to have fun being a heel in that area. Mm-hmm. And that was established a long time ago. So the people that we have there and the community that we have there are really great folks. They really are. There's some really wonderful folks. And I've been blessed to, some of them are dear friends and people I've gotten to meet over the years, time and time and time again. And it's never boring. And that's like I said, that's the main thing about the Batman message board. Even though it's, like I said, social media we have, but the community that we actually have on that board and have grown from that board is still something I've cherished for the past 20 years.
If you're not familiar with the message board, if you've never experienced it before and you're listening to the podcast, go to 66batman.com. and do your little registration thing there. Let the guys know who you are and get yourself listed on there. And then just start digging, because there is so much to be found. And of course, you've got to find the Green Hornet side of the whole message board. And if you want to know anything about anything, just throw it out on there. And there are some people that will fill you in
Yep.
quickly.
That being said, that actually brings me to a question. Scott, is there anything in particular that you've learned that sticks out to you the most, that you just saw in a post or something that cropped up and you're like, oh, I had no idea. That's really awesome.
That somebody's making a Green Hornet film, called I think Requiem of the Hornet or something like that. That really caught my attention. I thought that was really cool. And I was wondering why the hell they didn't ask me to make music for it, but that's because they wanted to spare me the headache. No, I get that.
Actually, I was on a deadline at the time. I was on a deadline. I had 2 weeks to finish the entire project, and now I find out that I didn't have to hurry in the first place. So there.
Oh, gosh. But in all honesty, I'm always amazed that the little tidbits and things that can pop up on that forum still. And back in the day, there was just so much that we didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know.
Right.
And fortunately, in those early days, in the very earliest days, people were very proprietary about their information. That's like, oh, yeah, I know, but wouldn't you like to know?
Oh, yeah. And doesn't that actually piss you off?
It's like, oh, I made a cow. Wouldn't you like to know what's on the inside of it? And these were the early days, and cow wars were horrendous.
Oh, I imagine.
Who made the best cow? Who made the best batarang? That stuff was just heated. But when I came in, the little thing I did is I would share photos. I was getting a photo collection together, and I would scan them, and I wouldn't put a watermark on them. I wasn't trying to take ownership of something that technically I really didn't own.
Right.
And
which
so
happens a lot.
Yeah.
I do photo retouching. I do photo restoration. So everything I was scanning there, I would give it the treatment, try to get the dust off. And I could probably easily tell you that probably if you look up a Batman photo or a Green Hornet photo, probably 80% of the ones that you're going to come across on Google or whatever is probably one I've had my hands on, if it didn't come from the Getty's images directly or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
They pop up all over the place, and I recognize my work. I'm not claiming all photos everywhere, but in those early days, the stuff that I was putting out was the stuff that you're readily getting available. So I was sharing, and that was the whole thing. If I learned something, I shared it. And
sure.
And that started creating a community of sharing. And in early days, folks out there probably don't know the name, for some will know the name Chuck Williams, who is a fabulous maker of, bad items and hopefully Green Hornet items at some point or whatever. But he wasn't in the cowl business yet. He wasn't in the costume business yet. He was just a very knowledgeable, very talented artist. And the sharing thing is where I found out something, I'd share it with him. If he figured out something, he'd share it with me. We'd go compare notes. If I had access to a cowl, he'd have a whole list of things he wanted me to measure it with and things like that.
Cool. Yeah.
And we're nearly on 20 years of reciprocating the fruits of all that still to this day. Green Hornet, sad to say, a chunk of the community on the Green Hornet one is still proprietary.
And I don't get that. Yeah, I don't get that, but there are some that are sharing.
A lot of fans, just a lot of fandoms, want to own something. They want to have their corner of, I'm the guy who knows this. I am the king of knowing, all the Star Trek scripts. I'm the person who knows all the Doctor Who props and exact measurements, and yours is off by 2 millimeters. Okay.
Yeah.
It's that type. And with and I'm not spearheading Green Hornet fans per se, but it's just that because I have a community and I got a Green Hornet forum, a lot of the guys who really know their stuff like to hang on to that and just judge what they see, but don't really get the cues. The most awesome one that is awesome in the sharing and the knowing, John Haig. Come on.
John Haig. I tell you what, that man, if I have a question, Pennyworth is the guy that can answer that question.
Absolutely. And he was there then. He is there now.
Yep.
He was there before me. He will be there probably after me when I've closed the doors going, hey, what happened? Who turned out the lights?
Just a huge shout out to John for being that. I mean, if I have a question about things, I'll email John and just say, what have you got? In fact, I did hear just recently for the film, I emailed him about a question for something and, got right back to me and sent me, what little bit of, knowledge he had. It's just absolutely invaluable. Hey, Scott, before we let you go, you told me a story that I want you to share on here. You and I both had the distinct pleasure of meeting Van years ago, and you told me a story about your cosplay at a con where his wife
found you.
I know the prompt. Here we go.
There we go. You're on.
This thing's only on for 45 minutes, right? No, kidding.
This is the Reader's Digest version, okay?
Yeah. Okay. So, I never got to catch Van at any show prior to 2012. It's the only time I caught him. He wasn't really doing shows, and I met everybody from Batman and everything else before that. I'd done a little bit of cosplay as Green Hornet, and I hadn't done it in a while. I usually would put somebody else in the suit that I had if I was going to do Batman. And he was going to be doing a autograph show in Burbank, not a full-blown con, and not a cosplaying event. And I'm going to see Van. I'm going to get in the suit. And so, I got my cosplay suit on while I was there. I met up with my friend Ruben Procopio, which is a great, great sculptor, artist, but also friend of Van's. And met up with Ruben, got in my suit, about ready to head out the floor. Van's wife, Vicky, sees Ruben. And she recognizes Ruben because Ruben is awesome. And they start chatting, and then Ruben introduces me to Vicky, and she goes, my husband played the Green Hornet, and she's pointing at my suit.
Like you didn't know that.
And I was like, really? I guess that's why I'm here. But at the same time, I happened to mention to her that my wife's name is Vicky. And and she goes, you really actually do look like a younger version of my husband. What if I take you over there, we go in arm in arm, and I tell him I traded up for a younger version? Oh, I was all in for that.
Yeah.
If you're ever going to be introduced to Van Williams and skip the lines and everything like that, that was the way to do it. Yeah. And he couldn't have been nicer. He was everything you could hope to meet in a one of your childhood idol kind of people. He was just a down to earth, sweet guy. But yeah, she came in, the look on his face, he had a good old laugh about it. And next thing you know is we're getting a bunch of photos taken. You got Van Williams and a guy dressed like trying to be Van Williams. And there was a lot of photos being taken. A lot of them are Getty images to this day. And when I'm in costume, I don't take my mask off. I don't break character when I'm on the floor. I don't want to break the illusion or anything like that. I don't do off-color jokes or anything. But I was standing next to Van, and he makes a comment about my mask looking really, really good. And he was checking. I goes, yeah, because it was like molded to my face and everything like that. And I said, well, here. And I took the mask off. He took my mask, and he put it on.
Killer.
Yeah. Well, then the cameras really went nuts.
Yeah.
And a guy comes out from the side who had been waiting in line, and he had brought an actual on-screen used mask of the Green Hornet. That it was at least one that was used on Piece of the Action in the Batman crossover, because you could actually see a worn-off section in the mask that you could see from the screen capture from the show. And one of the ears had been broken off of it, but other than that, the mask looked great. And Van looked at it. He took my mask off, and he popped that mask on. Okay, now you're standing in front of Van Williams. He's wearing the original damn mask.
It just doesn't get any better than that.
There you go. And I'm thinking,
mackerel.
How often has someone seen Van wear an original mask since the show? And to be standing there in just good spirits and stuff. Yeah, I couldn't ask for a better experience. It was absolutely lifelong memory.
That's a lifelong memory. Lifelong memory. Scott Sebring, owner of the 66 Batman message board, Green Hornet Forum. And hey, I want to thank you first off for doing the show with us. We really appreciate that. And absolutely. a big thanks for keeping the home fires burning and having this as an outlet for people, because anybody who needs to find information, just go to the website, go to the forum.
Hit the forum.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing the podcast. Thank you for doing the podcast, because quite honestly, you putting the message out there, sharing your love for the Green Hornet, absolutely. And they want to find out things about the Green Hornet and ask about the Green Hornet, come on over to the board. Honestly, It's a fun place. It's a nice place. You can still be on your social media. Here's the major difference. Someone posts something on social media, it eventually gets buried over time, and you cannot find it if you want to, if you even read it once 6 months ago. When it's posted on our board, it's still there. 10 years later, it's still there. You can search it. You can find it. It's an archive. That's the difference.
Absolutely.
And an invaluable resource.
Yeah.
We try.
Yeah, it really, really and truly is. Real quick, Scott, where can they find the brand new album Prequel?
It's streaming everywhere. It is everywhere. Just look up Scott Sebring music on Google. It'll pop up. I'll probably show up in a Batman outfit, but either way, it's out there. It's easy to find. It really is. Just look, just click. I do have a new video on YouTube called Born by the River that we debuted earlier in the month, actually directed by Ben Bentley.
Let's put the link to that one.
We'll put the link on. I've checked it out. It's an awesome video, awesome song, and Ben did okay. You know, it's he shouldn't quit his day job. So,
wow.
Does the other director?
Scott, thanks for spending some time with us, and let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely, and let's have a real coffee sometime. KO.
And I think that's really good. KO-FI.
Scott, you rule, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we let him go too soon. I had so much more I needed to talk, and I was being quiet the whole time.
You were. What is up with that, man?
I don't honestly know. Like, you guys had such a good timing and rapport that really I was just listening a lot.
Yeah, well, he and I have had a couple of conversations, for, half hour, 45 minutes each.
Yeah.
So, going into it. But, here's a dude that, the brand new album that's just coming out. He's a hell of a musician. Go check out, the new album Prequel, like we said. But he's just kind of always been floating in and out and around, the entertainment industry and the story. Oh, what a great story.
Oh, my goodness, right? What do I like that he kind of waited until we were nearing the end to drop it, and then he just, I know you prompted him, but like, what a just cherry on top of a great conversation.
Yeah, even if he hadn't had the opportunity of meeting Van, to have Van's wife come up and grab him and say, I'm going to trade my husband in.
Got myself a new model.
Got myself a new one. Yeah,
That's
there
so
you
funny.
go. All right, podcast at greenhornet66.com, and it's been a fun episode. I gotta tease you just a little bit here, Kory.
Okay.
My email has been blowing up in the last couple of weeks. We have a couple, 3-4 different guests. We've been trying really hard to get the new Miss Fury Green Hornet writers on the show.
Our timing has been rough with that, but yes, I'm so looking forward to that conversation.
The two guys, one's on the East Coast, one's on the West Coast, and they're going different directions at the same time, and it's been really, really tough. We're
the two shall meet, right?
We're going to get those two guys on the show. We are also, this is something you and I haven't had a conversation about yet, but we're going to very shortly, as soon as we wrap here. The Kickstarter campaign for the new Green Hornet Epic Anthology with Timothy Lizon and Kevin J. Anderson. I don't know if those are the two guys that are going to be on the show, but we've got a couple of writers from that tome that are going to be joining us on the show soon, like really, really soon.
So good. Good.
And the one that I'm always excited about all of these, but the one I'm really super, super excited about is animator Michael Kelly.
So, you sent me the it's a test, I guess, kind of a pilot
little animated test,
proof of concept.
Yeah.
And for this animated Green Hornet, and I've been banging that drum since we started this thing.
Yeah.
That is what I want. Like, as much as I want movie, as much as I want, more, of course, but the animated series just to me makes the most sense. And holy mackerel, there's something to be said. I'm excited to talk to Michael. It's going to be awesome.
I really am. We reached out and Michael came back and he said, yes, want to do the show. And that's just awesome. So that's coming up. You and I originally, and we're going to have to wrap the show here because we're going to blow up our
bumping
time.
Up against it. Yeah.
Yeah. But you and I discussed in the early days that we wanted to do a couple of episodes of you and I jamming back and forth about, whatever it happened to be, and then do an interview. And then you and I would do a couple of shows and then do an interview. I think we got them lined up to the point where
we're going to have a lot more interviews than anything else for a while. And I am not upset about that.
I think so. We're going to keep things going for you, the listeners. We appreciate you more than you have any idea. I do want to throw something out, though. We've had a couple of folks that have come on board and just shot us a donation, and we appreciate that very much. We're trying this newfangled thing here that is going to allow us to do longer and better interviews with guests. It's instead of doing the Zoom thing, which technically wasn't designed to do this. We're using something new called Riverside FM, and it's not, there is a free version, but to get the things that we need, it does cost a little money. So, if you're interested, you'd like to help support what we do, be sure to go to ko-fi.com/Green Hornet Case Files.
And to piggyback on what Greg is putting out there, I mean, we hate to pass the hat, but this is something that neither one of us are in a position to be able to facilitate completely by ourselves. So any help just helps the show. And we're greatly appreciative and thankful for every last bit of it. But man, if we could get this gets us to a new level. And it'll be much easier for us to be able to facilitate some of the older guests that may have problems with some technologies.
Technology, yeah.
Yeah, and this is a straightforward, super simple thing that we can send out and help, and it's just going to help the show improve. So thank you all for helping support that.
Yeah, we appreciate it very much. ko-fi, coffee.com, Ko-fi, whatever you want to call it, /Green Hornet Case Files. Be sure and like, subscribe, and comment. We'd love to hear your comments. That's what makes the show for us. We at least know that we're hitting the ball every once in a while.
And thank you for everybody who is reaching out, letting us know that we're not just talking into the wind. We appreciate it. yeah, definitely do. Podcast at greenhornet66.com. And with that, hi-ho Silver. Hi-ho Silver.
As the night envelops the city once more, our journey through the hidden alleys of history and valor comes to a close. You've been riding shotgun with the Green Hornet Case Files, where the echoes of the past meet the voices of the present. Tune in again for the next thrilling adventure where shadows speak, secrets unfold, and the legacy of the Green Hornet continues to inspire. The Green Hornet Case Files is a Grail Productions podcast. The Green Hornet is owned exclusively by Green Hornet, Inc. Until next time, vigilant listeners, keep your wits sharp and your spirit unbreakable.